this Mercy Health matchup as we preview games in the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown, 18 of them this year. And we'll start in Southeast Indiana where rivals Lawrenceburg and East Central will get it on Friday at 7 o'clock. I'm Richard Skinner. He's Tom Gamble.
You are correct. And you mentioned 7 o'clock, Lawrenceburg High School, one of the coolest high school settings there on State Route 50 in Southeast Indiana. A great rivalry, although maybe a little bit one-sided. But, I mean, these are two programs, and especially the coaches and players that know each other really well.
Yeah, it's been one-sided. I mean, Lawrenceburg has not won since 1992. Now, a little caveat, they didn't play for a handful of years. But the last couple of years has been renewed. And really, the first game got renewed. It was a very close game, 15-14 in 2017. I got a feeling we got to have a pretty good game this year between these two teams.
Yeah, it was. I was in the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown also that year, also at Lawrenceburg. And East Central scored late to pull out the 1-point win. And you mentioned these two programs. They both had great runs of success. Last year, East Central won 38-7, but Lawrenceburg was really, really young. Played a freshman quarterback all season. They're now more experienced, and I think this has got the makings of a 2017 game all over again.
Yeah, Lawrenceburg finished the regular season last year 4-5. They're a smaller class. They're in 3A, marching the playoffs a little bit, but they returned 10 starters on both sides of the ball. You talk about that youth. East Central, 4A school. They have had a great run of success getting deep in the postseason the last few years, and a team that certainly is very defensive-oriented going into 2019.
Yeah, you mentioned Lawrenceburg in 2016. They made the 3A state final, and then a year later, East Central won the 4A state championship. So, no, you're correct. That the youth of Lawrenceburg, now a year older, including quarterback Garrett Yoon, who's only a sophomore, played all year as a freshman. That's very rare at the varsity level. His brother, Gavin Yoon, who's a senior receiver, a good connection there. Dad Kai is an assistant coach, but Gavin suffered a knee injury. I don't know the status yet. We'll find out probably Friday night in their scrimmage against Newcastle. But they're going to be tested, Lawrenceburg, offensively by a very good East Central defense.
A couple players to watch for East Central. Luke Collinsworth, 6'6" lineman, ranked number 3 in his class in the state of Indiana, and Devin Donnerworth, an all-around really good defensive player.
Yeah, and East Central will try and stop Lawrenceburg. I think this has got the makings of one of those last-second games, and I think both teams are expecting a good year. East Central has a new coach, Jake Miners, but certainly not someone who's unfamiliar. He was previously an assistant, played quarterback there, and 2 of his 4 years when he QB'd the Trojans, Ryan Kaniga, the head coach of Lawrenceburg, was on the staff at East Central. You've got a lot of that, and I think Jake Miners is ready. He looks like he's about 21 years old. He really does, a young guy, but he knows the program well, and I know he's very enthusiastic, and these are two schools that really love. I asked both about playing that first rival game right now, and they said, yes, we're excited. It's our biggest game of the year, but you have to be careful because it's only week 1 of a 9-game regular season.
And with it being such a great rivalry game, you've got some other things planned on Friday night at Lawrenceburg.
Well, we couldn't think of a better way to kick this off. It's our inaugural tailgate at the Showdown, and if you say, what is that? It's an on-site broadcast. We'll start things at 5 o'clock, so 2 hours before kickoff. We'll be on-site, myself, former UC Bearcats quarterback Tony Pike, Joe Daneman and Jeremy Robb from Fox 19 Sports, Lindsey Patterson from Cincinnati.com. It'll be an interactive fan zone, but we'll have a broadcast. We'll talk to both coaches, have the band, cheerleaders involved, and we're going to talk about this game and preview it in depth. But we're also going to take a look, and this is obviously week 1 in Indiana and week 0 in Kentucky, but we'll preview some of the Ohio games as well. We're doing 6 of these this season, and this will be our first one, so we hope you come early. We'll be at what's called the Jungle. It's kind of their tailgate zone, field level, right outside the gym. We hope to see you there around 5 o'clock.
All right, if people want some more information on this event and all the events you got going on, plus the entire schedule for the Crosstown Showdown, where can they find it?
Well, they can go to the Showdown website. It's xtownshowdown.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at Xtown Showdown. Matchups and game previews like this one, and for the remaining 17 games, you can find them all at either one of those places. Coming up next, it's the Mercy Health Huddle, your source for health information for your student athlete.
Hi again, everybody. We're here today with Dr. Steve Fagan from Mercy Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. He is also the medical director of Hamilton County Public Health. And today, Doc, we want to talk about maybe one of the most important health topics of our time, the opioid epidemic, and how it relates to student athletes.
That is so right. And we are living in a time we're experiencing the largest drug epidemic in U.S. history. And it's a public health priority, it's a student priority, it's a priority for all of us, including the student athletes. Student athletes are no more susceptible to opioid use disorder than any students of the same age or any people of the same age, but they do get injured more. They do have more potential for exposure to powerful opioid medications, and so it's important for us to identify and to minimize and to really look at the potential for any kind of addiction, including opioid addiction in our athletes, which we do with our athlete trainers, our team physicians, and Mercy Health physicians.
So is an athlete who has been injured, are they more likely to, it being treated by the opioids, to maybe become addicted? What is the chances that they are more likely?
So student athletes are no more likely to have the genetic predisposition or even the continued tolerance leading to addiction than anyone else. However, because they may experience or have the need for pain medicines after an injury or a surgery, then they are at some risk.
So avoiding it now. So a student is prescribed the opioid medication for pain, for the injury. How do we avoid looking to a worst case scenario?
Right. So we in Mercy Health have really been leaders in working with public health and all entities to minimize our prescriptions for things like Percocet and Vicodin, to limit the amount of time that is needed for those medications, and to also use alternatives. There are 3 pain pathways. There's the nociceptive, which is what opiates treat. There's the inflammatory, and there's the neuropathic. And so using anti-inflammatories and some neuropathic medicines in addition to opioids to minimize the use of opioids and also decrease the length of time that someone is exposed to opioids significantly reduces the risk of a potential addiction or tolerance to long-term tolerance to opioid medications.
You kind of mentioned it a little bit too. What about some non-opiate options for injured players?
And so we really want to focus on those, especially around anti-inflammatories. And so things like NSAIDs, non-steroidals, like ibuprofen and Aleve or naproxen, as well as even some steroids, are helpful adjuncts. And on the neuropathic side, things like gabapentin or Neurontin, seizure-type medicines, which are very helpful because when you're cutting on someone, you're kind of injuring those nerves, and the nerves are the things that are causing pain. And so if you're able to deal specifically with that and the inflammation directly, you're able to significantly reduce the exposure to addicting-type medicines like opioids.
Let's go worst case scenario. And what happens if a family member or a parent suspects, or maybe even a friend suspects, that maybe an athlete has become addicted?
And so that's really important for our trainers, our team physicians, and our Mercy Health physicians, and parents. And so parents who become concerned when there is a change in behavior, when there is a almost an addiction type behavior, when things are different. And the most important question to the parents is there a difference in your son or daughter who's been taking these medications? Are they having some unusual behavior? And so if that's the case, then it's very important to contact a health professional, to contact us at Mercy Health, because we are part of a large addiction collaborative. The sooner, the better. Avoiding having the conversation helps no one. And so if you think it, you ask it. It is no problems at all to talk to your son or daughter and say, do you think there is a problem with this medication? And then talk to your trainer, your team physician, or your Mercy Health physician to get help, which can occur immediately, almost immediately. And that's really important.
Again, we probably just scratched the surface, but this is probably one of the most important health topics of our time. Again, appreciate you stopping by and giving us a little bit of the information today. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
When it hurts to move, what often hurts most is the fact that you can't. Because every rebound is calling your name, and every dance should be danced. It's in moments like these that we step in to help you step back off the sidelines. Because it takes 2 to tango in this life, and you are meant to be the one. Mercy Health, healthcare for the universe of you. Find an orthopedic doctor at mercy.com/ortho.